Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. Happy Tuesday night. We pushed it to Tuesday to give the Kissimmee winners a chance to get back home and get everything they needed done, Monday night done, and they're going to be here tonight. We've got Sherman Bishop, the winner, is coming on, and then Guillermo Gonzalez, who's been on the show many times, coming on for his strong second-place finish. As you can see, Ryan is not on the screen with me, so I've got a special guest doing the intro with me. Ryan will be here in a little bit. John House from Real Heroes. We've been trying to get him on for a few shows. I kind of dropped the ball on that, John. I apologize.
You're good, buddy.
Yeah, man. But we got you on tonight to talk about Real Heroes and what that's about and how to get registered. So we're going to jump straight into that. Let's talk about Real Heroes, man. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So first off, appreciate you having us back on again this year. So Real Heroes is a charity event that happens on Lake Norman. It's an annual event. Last year was the first year, and what it is July was kind of a slow time. We put together an event to raise money for Purple Heart Homes, which is a local veterans organization here in the Carolinas, and they help veterans with housing solutions, whether it's retrofitting existing homes or as far advanced as providing tiny homes for veterans in need. Yeah, last year we held our first event on Lake Norman in July. It was a huge success. And we're just trying to duplicate that this year, have a little bit bigger of a goal, but some massive things happening that we wanted to jump on and share with you guys. The biggest of which is registration is now open. It opened up at the beginning of January. The biggest takeaway from our event last year was the grab bags. Last year, I believe it was 115 grab bags to the first 115 registered. This year, we've bumped that up to 125. Thanks to our amazing sponsors and the ROI. We're known in 1 year, we're known for the grab bags, and the ROI is absolutely ridiculous again this year. A big part of that is the sponsorship dollars, and a big part of that this year is Abu Garcia has given us 125 Zeta reels to put in there, which that alone covers the entry fee. So amongst many other things that are going to be in the grab bag, it's absolutely ridiculous the amount of support that we've had for this event, and it's only going to continue to get bigger. So that's
awesome. I saw the pyramid of reels on your page over there.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about why you started this and then the mission behind it once again.
Yeah. So again, it was just. I'm a local real estate agent. I've never really done much with charities or nonprofits or anything like that. But it was just a way for me to say, hey, we had an off month last year in July. Let's create an event here on the home pond and raise some money for some veterans. I had a $1,500 goal in mind, and just marketing. I have a great team behind me of 3 guys, and the marketing. We got out there, hit the streets, and was blessed to come up with some amazing sponsors, and absolutely blew that $1,500 goal out of the water. So last year after the event, and we do it a little different. So kind of backtrack a little bit. Our event starts on Friday. We have a captain's dinner. You get there at Purple Heart Homes facility. You get to tour the facility, see where the tiny homes are made, that kind of thing. We have a silent auction, have an amazing dinner. And then you get your grab bags and that kind of stuff. We don't really do board checks, but kind of if you've never been kayak fishing, kind of go over how to measure a fish and that kind of thing. But anyways, and then the event's Saturday. After the event on Saturday, then we go meet back for a weigh-in location to go over awards. But through that whole event last year, we were able, in cash donations alone, we were able to strike a check for $44,000 to Purple Heart Homes with an initial $1,500 goal. So, and all that money goes back to veterans and helping veterans in need. So that's fantastic. Between that and the products given, we raised over $100,000 last year. So it's absolutely crazy. And like I said, we're already on pace to blow that out of the water this year.
Amazing, man. I mean, for those that don't know, number one, I'm a veteran, but number two, my real life work is I work for the VA and love giving back to my fellow veterans at the VA. So to hear things like this warms my heart. So appreciate you, John.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a great ride. So it got so big so fast. I ended up turning it into its own nonprofit last year, 501c3. And then just with our relationship with Purple Heart Homes and needing event licenses for different things and solicitation licenses and all this, we basically dissolved that 501c3 and are under an umbrella of the Purple Heart Homes 501c3 now. So we're deemed a chapter of Purple Heart Homes. And like I said, all proceeds, 100% of the proceeds go back to Purple Heart Homes and supporting vets.
How many homes have as Purple Heart Vets put veterans into? Is there a rough number as how that's gone so far for that organization?
There is. If Fenway was on, Fenway is one of the board members. If he was on, he would have that right off the top of his head. I want to say it was like 3,600. I want to say it's like 3,600 jobs have been done in 48 states and Puerto Rico. But don't quote me on that.
Still, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
I don't know off the top of my head. That's probably something that I should definitely have in the back of my pocket.
No, just the fact that they're doing any at all is amazing. To do, between 3,000 and 4,000 is just unbelievable. Whatever the final number is, that doesn't matter. But just the mission is unreal. Veterans shouldn't be struggling, shouldn't be out on the streets like they are sometimes. And this is just a great way to give back and try to help them. It's unbelievable. Exactly.
And not all veterans are in need of a tiny house. Some of them just literally need a wheelchair ramp or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So to be able to take a passion or a hobby that we all have of kayak fishing and be able to turn it into funds to support vets, it's just amazing. And like I said, Pier Fishing and Abu Garcia and Berkeley and all the amazing sponsors. Wiley X has donated $20,000 in sunglasses again this year for the grab bag. So, I mean, we just got a ton of amazing sponsors. You can't thank them enough. But then continuing to push, and a big portion of that is just the participation that the kayak community offers. This year we did increase the entry fee up to $100. But still at that, like I said, the grab bag value is already over $300. So you're getting your money's worth. Another cool thing that we're changing up this year for the event, last year we paid out top 5 veterans and top 5 civilians. And we determined this by when you register on Tourney X, there's a veterans checkbox. If you're a veteran, we ask that you select that. So we know. But we're doing the same thing, top 5 vets, top 5 civilians. But what we're doing this time, in addition to that, last year we just gave the overall winner a kayak. And that's all cool, but most of us have a kayak. We're in kayak fishing. Right. So this year, what we've decided to do is top veteran and top civilian both get a $750 payout.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we're going to pay prizes from 2 to 5 in both categories this year. Some anglers out there, actually fish for money. They're a lot better than I, but they fish for money, and this may incentivize them to come check out the event, and hopefully they have a blast and promote it on social media.
That's awesome, man. Well, John, I appreciate you coming on here to give us a breakdown of this. I'm going to clip this out and just put it by itself as a video over on Twitter and on our YouTube channel and other places to try to get the word out. Is there any place people can donate outside of just registering for the tournament if they can't come to the tournament?
Yeah. So if you go to our Real Heroes Facebook page, and I can shoot you a text with the link, but we have a QR code and a donor link that you can donate that way. Or if you would like to participate in the event, it's available on Tourney X. You just type in Real Heroes.
Perfect. I dropped the link to Tourney X in the chat already, so people should be able to see that. But
fantastic.
Amazing event, man. We'll let you get out of here and get. Looks like Ryan's even here now, but I appreciate you taking 10 minutes or so to come in and tell us about this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how big this thing gets.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having us on. Good luck.
Yes, sir. Appreciate
Take
it,
care.
John. Yes. All right, John House, everybody. Hey, look at that hatless Ryan with the scrubs on.
Oh my gosh,
you're looking so professional. It's unbelievable.
It's been quite a day, pal.
Yeah, we've got our two first and second place winner from Kissimmee on there ready to jump in as well.
Perfect.
But I was waiting on you for this real quick. We
boy.
promised a giveaway last week for the podcast listeners. They were going to go do a review, and I selected a winner. And the winner is this guy. Ryan's beard is trash, 5 stars.
All right, that's fair.
I spent most of my days in the vehicle traveling for work, and KBN is always a must listen for me every week. 5-star rating. C. Stroop over on that.
Chris, I think maybe.
Chris,
does that sound right? Yeah.
So Chris, when you're listening to this, either tomorrow or the next day over on the audio, kayakbassnation@gmail.com or DM one of us and we'll get you the code. So there you go.
I love that. Love that winning review. Great job.
Yeah.
All right.
But with that said, let's get Guillermo and Sherman in here, man. They've been waiting long enough. Gentlemen.
I was trying to wait till you guys came on before I showed up. That was the whole game plan. Just been driving around for hours. Oh man. How was it? Clearly not bad for either one of you.
No,
not at all.
We talked to Chris, he kind of called his shot on there and he gave it a pretty good run. I thought he might actually pull that one off, but it looked like, the big fish were biting. He was talking about, the weather patterns and if they were going to move up, and it looked like y'all got on some good fish for sure.
No doubt about it.
Sherman, you put up quite the stringer there. Did you kind of see that coming? Did you practice that size fish, I guess, that you were targeting?
Oh, I actually went out like 2.5 months before the tournament. That was the only time I practiced. And I was only on the lake for about 2 hours, and I caught a 19.5 and a 20, and I just went back home. So,
well,
kind of where they positioned, and then we had the cold front. So.
Well, 2-month advance practice.
Yeah. Living here, I didn't want to pressure the lakes.
No way.
I knew there's 200+ anglers coming down to do enough of that. So.
Ryan, maybe a first year. We got a man that knows how to practice. He knew the water, didn't beat it up.
2.5 months ahead of time is pretty solid. You don't have to worry about sore lifting anything then.
Yeah. Now, G, you can obviously coming from Texas. You've had success in Florida before, I believe. But how long did you have to practice? Did you come in early? Come in a few days ahead of time?
Yeah, so I got in. My first practice day was on Tuesday.
Okay.
So I got a fair amount, and we hit 2 lakes every single day. There's a lot of water on that chain. It is wild how much water is on that chain, and it was actually pretty cool getting to explore it all. It's in a really neat part of Florida, and the lakes are all pretty neat. It's the only thing that was a little bit tough was because there are so many lakes. So just getting around all of them was a little bit overwhelming. But aside from that, it was a great experience.
There we go.
And you've had some previous experience down there, didn't you? Fish was it the KBF that was down there a couple years ago?
Yes, I did.
Completely making that up. Okay, I thought.
No,
so.
that was it. Yep.
All right, I thought so. Did you rely on kind of what you learned in that, or did you just kind of go in with a clean slate?
I went in pretty clean. I mean, of course, I checked out the lake that I had success on when we were there a few years ago. But a few years ago, the conditions were so different. We were that morning a few years ago. We had ice building up on the guides, which is weird.
That's how they usually go. That's how the Florida tournaments usually go. Is a stiff cold front.
Yeah, which was weird for being in Central Florida, but yeah, just completely different conditions. I mean, this time around, it was crazy how beautiful the weather was the entire week. I mean, I can't remember a kayak tournament where we just had beautiful weather for 5 or 6 days straight. It just
I can't
doesn't
remember
happen,
one
but
in
it
the
did
last.
this time.
I can't remember one in the last 10 years when there's been good weather for 5 days straight.
No, that's wild.
Sherman, where do you live? How far are you from Kissimmee?
From Kissimmee itself, I'm about an hour away.
Okay.
The nearest lake in that chain I can get to is about a half hour away. So
Oh, that's not bad at all. Then
too
no
far.
wonder you didn't feel that pressure to go out there and sore lip them all week.
No, and it's familiar water, so more important for me was watching the weather and hoping we didn't have our typical Florida weather we always have year after year when the trails come down and we get annihilated with 28 degrees out of nowhere.
Sherman, how did you handle, because we talk about this a lot on here, when there's a tournament close to home, it adds a level of pressure to the anglers that are from there. Sometimes you kind of overanalyze it and get a little tight, I guess, in your decision making. So how'd you handle that? Obviously, you handled it well. You put up 100 inches both days, but how did you approach that being kind of a hometown or backyard kind of an event like that?
Well, to be honest with you, I'd done the Bassmaster last time they came a couple years ago, and I couldn't even put up a limit day one. And I had done some ones previous to that, and I've really struggled. Like you said, in home waters, I let the northern guys come down and beat us up down here. So this year, I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I didn't overthink anything. I didn't worry about trying to be fancy. I just went out there and fished like any other day of the year. And I mean, I know the waters. I know how they're pushing up. I know how the weather's affecting them. So that's kind of the home field advantage. So I just used what I've learned over the years of living here my whole life to just go out and fish my normal patterns.
Yeah.
Guillermo, what did you figure out when you were practicing? Did you see anything that kind of clued you in to, what those fish were doing? It was kind of a warming trend, I guess, because they had Sherman. You can speak to that. I assume y'all had that big cold front come through, snow down, in the northern part of Florida. I guess the bass were probably a little more active with the weather warming up.
Yeah, they were a little more active. They were pushing up ahead of the cold front. So I think the cold front actually stopped them and slowed them down. It kind of pushed the bigger ones back out just a little bit, kind of put them on hold for that time and made the tournament what it was. That's why it was so successful. Otherwise, I think we would have really had a mixed bag of pre and post spawners coming in and out. So it really set up the tournament nice. The weather did.
So with that said, for both of you, did it push them out to where you were catching pre-spawn fish the entire tournament, or did it bring them up for you?
I actually, in my bag, I had a mixture. I had two of the larger ones. I had, well, day one of my bigs was pre and one was post. One was already flat as a pancake, poor girl. The second day, both the 22s, they were pre. They had just moved up, so they had moved up overnight.
Okay.
So there was a few post spawners in there, but most all of them were pre-spawn bass.
Yeah, I'd say I agree. I think the majority of the fish we were catching were pre-spawn, but honestly, we were catching them in all three stages, and I actually believe we were actually catching quite a few fish that were in the process of spawning as well. I definitely caught some post spawners, very few, but I definitely caught a few. But the majority of them were pre. Leading up to the week, honestly, the fishing, I don't know if y'all listened to the awards ceremony at all, but I mean, pretty much everybody that went up there couldn't stop talking about how tough the fishing was in practice. But we all kind of knew this warming trend that these fish eventually have got to slide on in here and get catchable. And that is exactly what happened. If I'm being honest, going into the tournament, I didn't feel very good. I didn't feel like I was really on anything. I felt like I was going to have to keep an open mind out there on the water. And that's kind of exactly what I did. The fishing just wound up being great. I was able, I mentioned this during the awards about mid-morning. I had actually run into my buddy Garrett Wade, and we kind of talked about the bite a little bit, and he clued me in on a few things that definitely helped me. I got to give him a lot of credit. And after that, I was kind of able to apply some of that and make it my own, and it led to an awesome event for me.
And it looked like it wasn't just big limits, but I mean, I'm looking at the list here. I can share the screen, but it's not just 5 big ones. It's 5 plus 9 coals and 5 plus 5. I mean, not only were y'all catching big ones, y'all were catching a lot of fish, right?
No doubt.
So what did those fish do, with the warming trend? Obviously, I mean, were they still holding tight to cover? Were you having to flip for the fish? Like what was your approach? Were they running grass lines? How did you all break down the water?
Well,
Go ahead, G.
Yeah, for sure. For me, when the fish, for me, kind of leading up to the event, had been pretty tight to cover. But once the event started, things got kind of overcast. And one of the things that I noticed, even in some of the deeper cover, like some of the deeper lily pads and whatnot, the fish were sitting really, really high on the water column. At least that's something that I noticed with that cloudy weather. And so I was able to throw baits that sat high in the water column. And most of the time, I could see those fish either waking it, and some of these areas were 6-7 feet of water, and the fish would be waking it before they even ate it. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But the clouds definitely helped a lot in that regard. I think if it had been a sunny tournament, it might have been a little bit more difficult for me to catch them the way that I did. I probably would have had to make a lot of adjustments, and there's a lot of really good flipping water out there, and I probably would have had to do a lot of that. But just with the way things set up, I didn't have to do a whole lot of that, and I was kind of happy about it. I was able to cover a lot of water, move a lot. I actually there was not a period in that tournament where my Newport motor wasn't running on at the very least like 6 watts.
I saw your kind of precursor to the full tournament right up. I was scrolling through Facebook while I was driving today and saw the traditional white PVC pipe sticking up there.
I actually had that picture ready to roll, Ryan. Look at that. There it is right there.
I wasn't even paying attention. I was driving. I looked down. I was like, that's got to be Guillermo. I see the white PVC pipe.
Yep.
You gotta patent that thing and get Yak Attack to make one for you.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. When are we going to see like a come to market refined version of the PVC pole there? Surely it's catching on.
I've actually talked to my buddy over at Newport, Romel, about coming up with some kind of like, some kind of much more, like you mentioned, refined thing. But the more I think about it, and the more that I just like get asked about that stupid PVC pipe, the more it just grows on me, and the more I just want it to be a PVC pipe.
Never change, man. Never change. It looks really Louisiana. Like that's what it reminds. Like when I look at it, it looks like some Cajun innovation or something there.
Yeah, we'll call it Puerto Rican innovation in this particular case.
We'll tell Tony Hinchcliffe that.
There we go. Jeez.
Sherman, what did you figure out? How did you find the fish positioning in your area? Was it similar to what Guillermo found, or were they doing a little something different?
It was similar to what G found. I mean, the first day I found him a little bit deeper than he did. I think I found him staged up in about 5 foot of water, right where the first weed line came into play. But day 2, it was an exact echo of what G said. They were sitting high in the water column. I was fishing a bunch of sporadic pad fields, and I was able to bring a walking frog or a paddle tail through it, and you could actually watch them coming through the pad, stalking it underneath of it, and they would actually wait until you got clear of the pads before they blow up on it. So I have to thank the bass for being polite. They could have blew up in the middle of it, and we could have had a fight. But they were polite enough to walk themselves out into open water and then decide to fight. So
That usually saves you some heartbreak, especially if you're fishing around those pad stems. I can't tell you how many times I've set the hook on a fish and fought a pad stem for 45 minutes.
right. But it made for one fun tournament because a lot of mine came on top water blow up stuff. So it was just nice having that kind of fish, and most of it explosions.
That's an exciting day for sure. Did you have any heartbreaks on that top water?
I only lost one fish the entire weekend, and that was rare to even say as an angler because you always have that horror story. But
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
I only lost one, and it was on Championship Sunday, and it was a decent sized fish. It wasn't a gigantic one. It was probably another one right around 20, so it would have helped a tiny bit maybe, but
Well, when you have 204, a tiny bit.
Yeah, that's good when you can tell that story of losing a 20-inch fish and it didn't really matter.
right. Well, I hate to be that guy, but at the end of that tournament, the fish really turned on. And it's like every cast I made was like a 19, a 19 and a half. And I'm looking around at all the kayaks and I feel bad. I'm like, it's like every cast I'm catching a real good fish and these guys are scrambling.
Yeah, I feel real bad about that.
You should have made loud noises and kind of threw them towards them in the air. They'd been really upset. I'm impressed with this picture taking technique with the one hand, with the camera, one hand just casually off to the side, holding the card like a business card, just letting the fish chill there. So
is that another identifier on your foot down there too?
Yeah, that was another one down there.
You got it going on. I like that. It's amazing.
Prepared.
Yeah. So take us through, you said day one, you kind of went through your day one and day two real quick, Sherman, but when you showed up on day one, you said you didn't practice for 2 months. How quickly were you aware that what you were hoping was going to be happening was happening, that you were back on it?
It actually, my first fish came 15, 30 minutes into the tournament, and it was an 18 and a half, something like that. So I found them pretty quick. On day one, they were exactly where I expected them to be after the cold front. I figured it kind of paused them, like I said earlier, and they would move up right to that first line coming in and feeding. And that's right where I found them day one. I sat out there most of the day. And day two, now that was a different story. It took me, I'm sure the leaderboard showed it, I was falling down the rankings because it took me a while to figure out where they went. Because they weren't there day two morning. So I caught a couple small ones, but I couldn't find the size. And it took me to figure out that they had pushed farther up overnight. And then I found out where they moved up to. So they were still moving up as the tournament even went on. I think that's why some anglers had a bad day one, and then they had an epic day two, is because the fish came to them.
Yeah, couldn't adjust. Guillermo, for you, I know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're a pretty patient angler. If things aren't going well, you're really good at making adjustments, things like that. How fast did things start happening for you on day one and day two? Was it immediate that you were on the right thing, or did you have to adjust throughout the morning?
Well, day one, I actually I got a limit pretty quick, but it was honest. It was a tiny limit. I was fishing really shallow first thing in the morning, and it wasn't till kind of like Sherman mentioned. And a lot of guys, mind you, a lot of guys had a lot of success fishing really, really shallow first thing in the morning on day one, but for whatever reason, I didn't. And it wasn't until I decided, and it ended up being kind of a blessing, I decided to move further out, like Sherman mentioned, and it felt like I just had all that water to myself. It was pretty cool, because I would go by plenty of guys that were out there really, really shallow beating the bank. I'm sure catching plenty of fish. There was definitely a ton of fish up there, but at least for me, they seemed to be smaller. But once I got out there, I didn't get as many bites fishing out further out, but it seemed like, about every other bite was a really, really good one. So I decided to pretty much commit to that for the rest of the day. I made a midday or a late day move to clear to the other side of the lake. I burned an entire hour, pretty much, or maybe a little less than that, going across it on my motor, to try to basically see if I could find any new water for day 2. If I could, I wanted to fish completely new water on day 2. Just running the same pattern, and I ended up catching a few fish down there, but nothing that helped me. So on day 2, it's funny. It's just like Sherman mentioned. I didn't quite get it going out very well in the morning. The fish, like, it seemed like they moved for me like halfway up. And once again, a lot of guys were still catching them really shallow, but there were so many guys kind of hopscotching through that area that I still tried to stay a little bit off of it. And about halfway back between, the furthest out cover to all the way to the bank was kind of where I really focused on day 2. And on day 2 specifically, I got on a really, really good middle of the day bite out in that stuff. And another couple of adjustments that I kind of had to make. I on day 1, I got a lot of short strikes. I was throwing a double willow spinnerbait most of the day, and on day 2, I added a trailer hook, and it oh my gosh, it absolutely saved my butt on day 2 because I made a coal at the end of the day, a pretty massive coal, and that fish was barely hanging on by the trailer hook, and I was so happy to have it. But I mean,
Your
that's
day 2,
really my tournament in a nutshell.
did you end up going back to the place you fished day 1, or did you go to that new water that you had went and scouted at the end of day 1?
I mean, I didn't fish. If I'm being honest, I fished the same side of the lake that I fished day 1. I never had a specific spot that I thought I needed to be on. I fished kind of a pattern more so than I fished a spot. I think a lot of the guys would agree, especially on that lake that we were on. They probably, a lot of guys kind of stuck to their little areas, and throughout the day, they might have seen me 3 or 4 times going back and forth and zigzagging around and going back down, going back east, back west, just all over the place, just running that pattern as much as I could on that side of the lake.
I don't know if you knew it or not, but I seen that PVC pipe go around me 5 or 7 dozen times.
That was another question I was about to ask. Have you talked? Were you two guys on the same lake? So
we were on the
clears
same
that
lake. I seen that PVC pipe racing past me and around me, and
I didn't get too close to you, did I?
No, not at all, man.
Were you pretty stationary, Sherman, like sticking to one area, or did you hop around quite a bit?
No,
too?
I was doing exactly what G said. It's funny that we were on the same lake and it's almost a mirror story, but yeah, I didn't have a specific spot or an area. I think we were just crossing paths because we were all going back and forth, and I was running more of a pattern in what I was looking for than I was worried about locking down a spot, because I don't think that would have done it.
Well, clearly, I think you two made the right call to be first and second out of the whole bunch down there.
Listen to you both. You were kind of doing some similar things, kind of recognize some similar things. But did you see? I mean, Sherman, you said you saw some other anglers around you, and
Yeah.
Guillermo, you said you went by a bunch of folks. Did you see folks doing anything similar to you, but they were just in the wrong? Like, they may be throwing a spinnerbait, but they were 10 yards too close to the bank, and just knew that they were close, but not quite on it.
I mean, honestly, on that, the bite was pretty spectacular on the lake we were on, and it was hard to feel anywhere on that lake. It was hard to feel like it seemed like you were doing too much of the wrong thing. But I mean, the one thing that really, really stuck out for me was that those extra shallow fish, which were no doubt biting, pretty good, were getting a lot of extra pressure.
Yeah.
And so, despite the fact that they were biting pretty good up there, I just felt like my best odds at getting those larger bites was going to be a little bit off the bank, and at least for me, that's how it seemed to work out. And really, I wasn't I was still fishing shallow. It's not like I was out there, fishing offshore, but with the way that the bite worked out, a lot of guys I think were trying to target spawners that were sitting pretty close to the bank, and like I said, there were guys kind of hopscotching each other all day long and that stuff, and I just didn't feel as confident moving up there, especially if I was still getting bit a little bit off the bank.
Yeah, that's good. We've got some questions piling up here for the both of you. Chris over on YouTube, any swim baits come into play?
I used the Gambler Easy Swimmer paddle tail. That's the only swim bait that came into play for me, and I was burning it weightless on the top of the water. So I was kind of burning it through the pads. Like I said, that was the one thing they were following out, and they would just knock the pad stems around, stalking it, coming through it. So not sure why they were being polite, but I'm grateful for it.
When it's your day, man. You got it.
Yeah, I didn't touch a swim bait the whole tournament.
You didn't pick up one mag draft at all, not just to see what happened?
No, although goodness, I would have loved to see what I could have done with one, honestly, now that I really think about it.
That's what I was thinking, down a grass edge or something, throwing that big mag draft, you might get a good surprise down there.
No doubt. But I mean, it just didn't seem like it was necessary, There's some lakes where that mag draft just has a lot of, or really any swim bait that's kind of that style just has a lot of drawing power from a long distance. But in this particular scenario, it just didn't seem necessary.
We got a few questions from Top Shelf over on YouTube. Said he smashed the bigs in practice, but couldn't fight off males on tourney days. How'd you get around that, G? Sounds like we already heard that. Stayed off the bank.
Played the numbers game.
Catch all of them.
Catch all of them, and eventually a big one was going to eat.
There we go. Also from Top Shelf, for Sherman, what made you pick that particular lake without practicing? What clued you in on it?
Well, living here, I knew we had a hurricane that came through this past year, and it flooded a lot of the lakes. They were 3 or 4 foot higher than they normally are. They normally have been for the past few years. And when they opened the locks up to drain a lot of them out, the water flow going through some of the lakes, pulling through the channels, just ripped a lot of the grass out. It cleared a lot of the stuff out that used to hold all the fish in certain lakes. So there was a lot of lakes in the chain that I just marked off the list because there was no reason to even bother with them, because the lake's going to take a year or so to rebuild itself and the fish to find a new place to hang out. So it was the one lake on my list that I knew hadn't really had any structure damage done to it. They haven't sprayed it, and they haven't done anything to it. So I knew that lake was intact. So it should be functioning.
That's some good backyard info to have there. I mean, not a lot of people, I think, would look back at the hurricane and then know, how much water they ran through those lakes, pulling the vegetation out. So that's probably some solid information to be aware of.
That's the home field advantage, right?
Yeah. Yep. When it works out.
Also over on YouTube, Top Shelf, for G, is that NK300 getting your new canoe on plane? And are you missing Spotlight?
Oh man, I had a couple of guys that were out there crappie fishing, and I kind of went by them, and they had a big wide-eyed look on their face, like they didn't know kayaks could do what I was doing in that new canoe pursuit. I mean, I know, especially on day 2, where I was kind of rotating through certain little areas that I liked. I had a 36-volt 60 battery, so I was not worried about killing my battery because I wasn't covering too long a distance, and so I would full throttle it pretty much everywhere I went. And full throttle on a tournament load on that particular boat is 6.8 miles an hour.
There you go, J-Mac. There's your answer. He literally just asked that question.
That's getting in a little piece of plastic now. That's moving.
Yeah, it is. On a light load, on a light load, I've done 7.3 before.
That's pretty decent for the old plastic out there, I think.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's honestly, it's not. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, you can dump pretty quick if you don't know what you're doing steering something like that, right?
Yeah, you got to just once you get to going that fast, the boat just wants to do what it wants to do, and I have to hold on to. Honestly, the PVC helps me a lot when I'm going that fast because it gives me leverage. Because if I'm just holding on to the handle without it, my boat just kind of wants to turn and go all kinds of directions when you're going that fast. Because those boats are not designed to go that fast.
Right.
But yeah, I got some looks for sure.
Yeah, the first time he went past me, I had to do a double take. I'm like, what kind of mud boat is that?
Jeremy out there cussing. He's like, these duck hunters are swamping me. Oh, that's just
Calling the game warden.
You said you were running at 6 watts while you were fishing. How for those that don't know how to calculate that, how fast were you moving along?
What's a watt?
So 6 watts is 3% throttle.
Okay.
On the MK300. So it's basically as much as you can feather that throttle up. And like the very first little bit that you can feather it, that's what I was running it at. And it'll basically get you down it just very, very slowly and quietly trips you along.
Nice.
A good fishing speed. Like a bow mount on 3 or something.
Perfect fishing speed. I mean, it was especially on, these glassy kind of light wind days that we had.
Bassmaster Kayak Series says, which I'm assuming is Steve-O, 2 of the most humble, best dudes to take the honors. I had a blast.
And speaking of Steve-O, what a turnout for this second event. Obviously going across the country out to Havasu to kick things off, but to have such a huge turnout coming back down south, that's massive numbers. It's huge for Bassmaster and it's huge for Steve-O. Just kind of seeing that response, because I'm sure, like anybody, starting the year off with kind of down numbers at Havasu, it's always good to have that bounce back. How many ended up in the event? It was 220 something last I looked.
223.
Was it? Okay.
223 with 2,209 fish caught. So almost 10 fish per person in the tournament. That's good.
How many other anglers were on that lake that y'all were fishing, do you think, roughly?
Probably 35 or 40.
So not terrible considering 220 down there, I guess. How big was it?
It wasn't too bad.
Did it feel crowded to fish out there with that many anglers, or was this a big enough body of water people could kind of spread out?
I don't know. It didn't feel crowded to me, but like G said, a lot of anglers chose to push up real shallow, so that there was areas where I seen it where they were pretty crowded together, but there was plenty of area to move around and fish. I never felt crowded one time.
One of the things that really stuck out to me, very specifically in this event, was the kind of caliber of character that we have in our sport. There was a lot of very open communication out there on the water. Anytime anybody got close to anybody, there was open communication, and it was all very, very, I don't know, it was honestly very pleasant. Every time I got around somebody, it honestly, usually in a tournament it can get a little weird, but it didn't get weird at all. It was pleasant, and everybody maintained good communication. And I kind of heard the same thing from everybody. Nobody out there had an issue with anybody, and everybody just went out there and had a good time and shared the water pretty well. I mean, there were a couple areas where it seemed like things got a little bit more congested, but like I said, because everybody was open to to talking and working with each other, it never once became an issue.
How many times have we said that? If you'll just talk, instead of just being worried about it or being tense. If you'll just talk, I'd say,
or
9
just
times out
being
of 10.
pissed immediately. Like that's
Yeah.
a lot of the stories we've heard. People, it's like defensive. Like people are mad immediately before anything
Yeah.
anything's ever happened. Instead of just saying, "Hey, what's up? How you doing? Which way are you going?" Just try to clear it up before it ever gets to that
I'd
point.
say 99% of conflict could be avoided if people would just do that. So that's good to hear that, G. That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, I tell people this all the time. When I'm out there fishing in a tournament, I could have a bass boat or whomever it be pull up right next to me and throw at the same little shell bar I'm throwing at. If they don't say a word to me, if they pull up, if I'm over there fishing and they pull up and they start fishing and they don't say a word to me, I'm going to be pretty upset. But if they just say hi, it'll absolutely completely change my demeanor. I mean, it's crazy. I could fish with anybody that's willing to talk to me. I could fish very close, but if somebody just pulls up, that's when to me it gets a little bit disrespectful. They at that point it's like they know they're doing something bad and they don't want to face it. You know what I mean?
I got that, Ryan, that just tipped me off. I'm going to pull up next to G, say hello. Take some,
Look
take
for
some
the
notes,
PVC pipe.
take some
track
notes.
him down.
No, I'm just kidding, G. I'll leave you alone.
Hey,
I mean,
yeah,
I think,
come do it
think
whenever
there's
you
a-
want. You
there's
fishing
a
the
lot
fork
to
event?
that,
Come
though.
on.
Just acknowledging that you're there, like not trying to act like they don't see you or whatever. Like, at least acknowledge like, hey, you're here first, like that kind of thing. I think when you try to ignore somebody, it's like you're trying to pretend like you're not casting over the top of them.
Right.
I don't know if this
Exactly.
is accurate or not, but John Klein on Facebook says he thinks 20 of the top 22 are from that lake. That's wild. So
Yeah, I don't know. I actually have no idea if that was the case, but it wouldn't shock me. The lake was fishing good, and yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
I saw a shout out for Becky Robinson earlier in the comments. Did you all see her on that lake by chance?
Day one leader.
I never did. Or
She
at
might have
least
been
not
one of the
that
two
I
that
would have
wasn't on there.
recognized her.
That was an impressive bag she put up on day one, though. Out of kind of all the pregame picks or whatever that we saw coming in, she put on a show down there on day one for sure.
That was pretty cool.
So, something I do when I look at these, post event, go scrolling through these leaderboards is, you scroll down to the middle, scroll down to the bottom of the leaderboards. There's 118 limits on day one. That shows you how good it was fishing, and tons of 4-fish bags, just short of a limit. So you've seen big bags in tournaments before, then you get down to 20th place and it drops off a cliff and nobody's catching them. Well, this thing, it was a pure shootout, obviously. I think they had 90 inches all the way down to around 30th place. So crazy kind of shootout. I mean, G, you were what, 10th after day one, but still right there, just a couple inches out of winning the thing. And on lakes like this, it's easy to make a big comeback. You can come back from down in the 20s or 30s on something like this and make a big push, right?
Absolutely.
Day one leader was on that lake. Michael Tompkins says.
There you go.
So there we go. It was the
confirmed.
It was the
Sherman. Are you gonna venture out of Florida for any of the other Bassmaster events?
Yeah, I've actually already talked to family and work and took off time to go to Dale Hollow next. So yeah,
that should be a fun one. That's a really good time of year to be on Dale Hollow too.
And I'm attempting to try to work out for Toledo Bend to make my 3 at least for the year. So
there you go. Got to make the AOY run now.
Figured that one might fish more like my style. So
yeah.
What about you, G? Are you doing the whole run after this, or what's your plans for this season here?
At the very least, 10 killer, Toledo, and Dale Hollow.
There we go. And I'm sure you're in the championship on Fort.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll probably be having Guillermo back on after that one.
It'd be one to watch.
I don't know. Fork is an equalizer, man. It is.
I don't know. I
And
mean, there. I feel like we've seen a lot of the usual suspects. We've seen a lot of repeats on the fork as far as the top guys go. So I wouldn't be shocked to see you get a little magic going in that one. What do you think the timing? The time of the year is going to yield as far as that fork tournament goes.
Well, it really depends on what our weather pattern is. The crazy thing about Texas at that time of the year is that we could wake up in the morning, it could be 20 degrees that morning, or we could wake up in the morning and it could be 70 degrees that morning. I think if we follow, just a typical weather pattern through the years, I think it's going to be, if I had to make a prediction just right off the bat, I'd say we're going to hit it pretty close to the beginning stages of the spawn. I think it is very likely that fish will be spawning, and maybe will have been spawning for several weeks on that lake. Of course, like I said, one week of cold weather could totally change that, and it could turn it into a pre-spawn event. But I think it's more likely than not that there will be fish spawning and there will be a lot of fish shallow. But really never know.
Well, that'll be fun to see it play out, especially if it is that timing to where those fish are pushed up shallow. I think we'll see some massive, massive limits.
I agree. I think it's going to be good.
Here,
No doubt.
this is a great question. Did BDH qualify? He's pretty handy on fork. I'm not sure if BDH is in that one or not. I don't know. I can't remember myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much he got to fish last year to qualify or not. He was.
I was going to say I didn't think. I mean, obviously he's new dad in it, so I don't know. I didn't recall how many events he got to get after last year.
Are you in that one, Sherman? Are you in the championship coming out of Florida with the Bass Nation Florida or anything?
No, I didn't fish any of the Bass Nation events last year.
He's just waiting on this one. He's been pre-fishing for 2 months ago for 9 months before that, waiting on this event.
I tried to do too many the year before, and it just messed me up to where I was average on everything. So I had just too much going on. So last year I focused on our Florida Kayak Bass Trail, our local trail, because I was going to make an Angler of the Year run, and I ended up coming in second. It took it right to the state championship, and it counted, and I was just a few points behind Chris Mitchell. So this was payback on the, and it was on the Kissimmee. So this was
Chris
payback
Mitchell.
for Angler of the Year last year.
he was on last week previewing this thing. He almost called the shot. He was right there. He was right there. Ron Singletary, no, we will not start from the beginning, but we appreciate you jumping on late, my friend.
Don't worry, it's recorded. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you can go back and watch or listen tomorrow, the next day. You'll be good. BDH is in from Bass Nation. First Steve Owens.
There we go. Dun dun
Watch
dun.
out. Brian Howe and Guillermo shootout coming down. G Money will be in there too. So
Honestly, my money's on him.
Yeah.
If you asked me to make a pick, it'd be either him or Scotch or something.
Yeah, Brian's good on fork, man. He's good anywhere, but he's good on fork.
Was it Cody Milton that wore him out down there? That what was it? 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
I think it was
first event, that first bass event. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that was it. My memory's getting foggy, but I remember that one.
That was back when they were 1-dayers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got way back in like a flat where the boats couldn't get, and they were all pissed. They could see
wasn't
him back
it,
there.
Yeah, wasn't there a big boat tournament going on down there at
Yeah.
the same time or something?
MLF, right?
Yep, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Jacob Wheeler tried to run over Russ or something like that. Something happened down
I don't
there.
know if it was that graphic, but I do remember YouTube clips.
Fishing stories, man. They grow.
out of that
Tried
one.
to run him over. Allegedly. Tried to run him over.
Oh, man.
Yeah, good times. Well, that'll be fun to watch. It's gonna be a great season, man. It's off and running. Local trails are firing up now that it's warming up a little bit in some places, so it's gonna be a fun season. I may actually fish this year, right? I might actually fish this year, man.
I wanted to. I've been stuck at work all day, obviously, but I walked outside in the parking lot and it was like 62 degrees and sunny. I was like, ooh, I kind of want to fish right now.
Yeah. Any more questions for either one of these fellas? We'll throw it up here. I saw this comment, Ryan. Was somebody did you get in a fight with a
Diggs? I don't even know what that means. Sometimes I have to take a bath and go to work. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry today was a work day, pal. I'll work on it. I'll try to be more disheveled next time.
Mr. Singletary, you're wise. He'll listen tomorrow while he's supposed to be working. That's exactly what you should be doing.
I like that.
There you go. Well, gentlemen, we don't want to keep you any longer. We appreciate you taking the time after a long weekend of fishing and holding up big blue trophies, cashing big checks, taking the time to come talk to us. Well done. I'm sure it's
and
not the last time
punching that ticket to the championship right out of the gate.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Well done. And G, welcome back. I know you've been on here a few times, but thanks for taking the invite once again to come talk to us.
Appreciate it as always, guys.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you after Fort.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. We'll get some rest tonight. We'll let you slide out of here. Give it up for Sherman and Guillermo, everybody. Here we go.
Take care, gents.
Two of the best. There we go, Ryan.
Two of the best. And Guillermo, I mean, he's won stuff all across the country,
Yeah.
and just a consistent check casher. Really, like you said, really good at adjusting, reading the water. I mean, we see him time and time again. It's awesome for Sherman to not have pre-fished 2 months before the tournament and go in and just dominate like that. It's a great show.
Take a little nugget. Don't overanalyze your home water. If you know what's going to happen, just trust your instincts and just do it. Don't overanalyze it.
Yeah, cool story, bro.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to the sponsors. I didn't do it at the beginning, Ryan. I was waiting on you to get here, I guess. But the whole show is always presented by Eco Fishing Shop. We appreciate Eco Fishing Shop and everything they do for us, but also just for the sport of kayak fishing. They're heavily involved with tournaments. Big Bass 250's live with them, so get over and register for that. Make plans to be there this fall for that. EcoFishingShop.com, and then Western Son Vodka, of course. We appreciate them. Drink of choice for KB Nation and ProGuide Lithium, the battery of choice for KB Nation. Revo was the giveaway to Chris Stroop. So Chris, make sure he said he picked that comment on purpose, Ryan, to try to rig the system.
Well, he did great. Good eye, Chris. Way to kick a man when he's down. Now I've got attacked by a weed whacker, so
yeah.
Can't wait to see where this goes.
Top Shelf said, Jeff, you're going to come out for one. I plan on coming to Dale Hollow if all things line up right and fishing that one. I also registered for my local trail on some sort of local team series thing they're doing.
There you go.
So we are fishing. We are fishing, by God. We're gonna
I may, if I've got to check the old volleyball schedule, I may slide in that team event on Gunnersville in April.
There you go. That'd be fun.
Slide in old Mean Jeans team trail there and see what Gunnersville in April's all about.
That's it. Appreciate Jason. Awesome show, he said. If you guys are listening on the podcast later, appreciate all the people that did reviews that didn't win. But hey, keep reviewing us. It helps us out over there, and it doesn't cost you anything. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, keep body shaming people. Those are the real winners.
Make fun of my
That's
yellow
what
glasses
we always say.
next time. Yeah. I got some blue light blockers, and they look like shooting glasses on the screen here. They're yellow.
They do look yellow, like you are in some sort of 3-gun competition right now.
That's it. Hey, see y'all next week. We're going to wrap this thing up. Good show, Ryan.
Take it easy.